What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today we're going to be giving away a Daredevil 181 Death of Elektra. All you need to do to have a chance to win this awesome book is comment below on your thoughts on the video and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and you hit that notification bell. Today we are counting down 10 top MCU spec keys to invest in for 2022. These are all going to be books that I am delivering insight on from either rumors, speculation, or confirmations that we already have for certain characters that we may know are going to show up or that we're still thinking and hoping might show up. So before we get into the books today, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below, including the link to today's sponsor, the Otis app. And before we get into the books, I'm going to take just 2 minutes to talk about the Otis app. Otis is the stock market for culture, an alternative investment app that allows anyone to buy and sell shares of culturally relevant pieces. Weekly drops include a mix of contemporary art, collector's pieces, and pop culture items. What are we here for, folks? Comic books, right? Otis offers a nice line of blue chip key comics. We're actually going to go in and take a look at some of these comics available for you to purchase shares of. As you guys can see here, we got a hot one right now, Special Marvel Edition 15, first appearance of Shang-Chi. We could go into this and see that shares of this book are selling at $31 a share. You can see the 1 month to 3 month market fluctuation of what this book's been doing, trending stats, all kind of details regarding the book and what it's been doing on the market are right there for you to see. We're going to go over to another one. We got Hulk 181, Avengers #1. Let's look at Fantastic Four 52, the first appearance of Black Panther. Now you can see that over the last month, this book's shares actually took a loss. But if you look over the last 3 months, you can see that there's been substantial gains still. So again, multiple ways for you to earn potential returns on your investments. Another one that I wanted to look at is one that is actually exited slash sold. X-Men #1. Let's look at this book. If you would have invested in shares of this book when it first listed, you would have earned 65%, as it states at the top there, on your initial investment, as this book's shares ended at $123.89 per share. Assets sold on July 23rd of this year. Look at this, $225,479.80, netting investors $123.89 per share, and a 65.19% return from the IPO price. Folks, if you want to get in on assets that a lot of us as collectors might not be able to buy straight out, this is a good way, again, to invest in some of these blue chip key comics, and is a good way to earn potential returns on your investment. So be sure to check out that link in the description below. And when you sign up for Otis with that link in the description, you can get your first share for free when you fund your account. All right, everyone, we have 10 books on the list today. The lower that we get on the list, the higher the increase in value over the last 5 years. We're going to be looking at current fair market value, compare it with 5 years ago. We're going to be looking at CGC grades as well as raw grades. And as I said, I'm going to be breaking down each book and why I picked it for this list. So let's get right into book number 10. We have Thor 168, Origin of Galactus. There's also speculation on Black Winter connections. I know that's like 2 years ago almost now, right? But still, the Origin of Galactus is very important in my humble opinion. It actually spans 4 books. If I remember off the top of my head, it's 161, 162, 168, and 169. This is the most valuable out of all of those books. Technically, a lot of databases declare 168 and 169 is the true 2-book origin story. So I believe, and I'm not going to give any spoilers for the Eternals film if you haven't seen it yet, but I really believe we've seen Galactus coming. We know that the MCU has been moving towards more, galactic and cosmic events and characters. But I do think that the Eternals showed us that, yes, Galactus is going to be coming for more than one reasons. I'll leave the details out for any of those that haven't seen the film. Now, the interesting thing about this book is, as for graded books, there's not been a lot on the market selling, so I didn't have any current for this year. But as of last year, an 8.5 CGC fair market value was sitting at around $327. So from 2 years before that, in 2018, it was sitting at 150. That's a 118% increase over those 2 years. We did have a recent high raw sell for $150. So again, as I always say, I'm not here to tell you to buy these books, folks. I'm here to deliver my personal opinion mixed with some data and some facts. And I want you all to be educated buyers. Do your research, do your due diligence. If you aren't willing to take the risk or the books don't interest you, then don't buy them, right? But I think this could be a decent time to buy because, like I said, there's not a lot of people either sending them off to get graded and putting them on the secondary market. So just do your research, all right? Moving on to book number 9 on the list. We have some Punisher action. This is Punisher number 1, the volume 1, the limited series. This is the first solo series for the Punisher. There's a lot of rumor and a lot of speculation of Jon Bernthal coming back as the Punisher. All rumor at this point. There has been talks about possibly a war journal series. I could have put that book on this list, but I really like this book as the first solo series. It's definitely been one that's been gaining ground already. If we look at current 9.8 fair market value, it's sitting at $900. 5 years ago, it was sitting at $307. That's a 193% increase in value, with the high raw of $150. So again, if we get Punisher back in the MCU and really solidified outside of the Netflix series and solidified in Disney Plus, or whether it's under the Disney mantle now, even if it may be Hulu, and something that's more concrete and crossing this character over into the bigger scheme of the MCU, because there's still the argument out there, well, the Netflix series, they were canon or they're not canon, or we know that it's a huge ordeal when it comes to the Marvel television side of things next to Marvel Studios. So I am still hoping for a Jon Bernthal return as the Punisher in the near future. Maybe we'll get an announcement. Maybe we'll get an official announcement in 2022. Fingers crossed. All right, folks, book number 8 on the list. Journey into Mystery, annual number 1, first appearance of Hercules and Zeus. So here's the thing. This book has already been hot because we have a Zeus confirmation for Thor: Love and Thunder, but there's a lot of speculation and hint that this is, ultimately going to bring Hercules in. I think it's, apparent, right, that it's got to happen. Let's look at these numbers. Current 8.5 fair market value. Sitting at $1,948. I didn't find any 5 or even 4 years back, so we just went back a couple years to 2019. Fair market value sitting at $644 for that 8.5. That's a 202% increase, with the high raw selling at $300. So again, be careful with this book because, again, with the Zeus announcement, it's already spiked this book, but you have a character that I think can be even bigger in the MCU that can cause this book to increase even more with Hercules. So that's why I put this book on the list. All right, folks, number 7 on the list today is Nova number 1. First appearance of Nova, Richard Rider, of course. This is one that I've been talking about for years now, and although you missed the boat to get it at what I was saying to get it at years ago, I still think there is a lot of ceiling to grow once we get a real a casting for this character and a trailer, or if we get an end credit scene of the character, because Kevin Feige did say Nova is coming, and most likely it's going to be both Richard Rider and Sam Alexander. So current 9.8 fair market value right now for this book sitting at about $1,850. 5 years ago, $545. That is a 239% increase over the last 5 years. Solid. High raw sold for $339. What do I have? Mine is in a 7.0, I believe. Happy to have it. Happy to have it still. And folks, as I always say, don't be so pressed about going after 9.8s if you're interested in looking at these books. If you're looking for higher grades, there's always the possibility of finding a nice high raw that you can get pressed up, save some money, or just go for whatever is in your budget. Because if a 9.8 grade is increasing on the market, it's almost undoubtedly that every other grade is increasing on the market as well. All right, let's go to book number 6. We have Incredible Hulk 234, another one that I've been talking about for a long time. Marvel Man becomes Quasar, so technically Wendell Vaughn's first appearance as Quasar. Current 9.8 fair market value for this book sitting at about $700. 5 years ago, it was sitting at $136. That's a 415% increase in value. Huge. High Raw has sold for $256. You missed the boat of this. I mean, I have a couple copies of this. And I don't know if I paid $1. Like, I don't think they were in the dollar bins, but I probably got them at an A1 sale where they were probably marked for like $4, and I got them for like 50% off or something. And I don't think they're in near mint high condition, but probably higher mid grade. Anywhere around maybe a 7.0 to 8.0 if I can remember off the top of my head. But it's still, again, I think it's inevitable that Quasar's coming, and once that happens, I think the trajectory of this book is going to continue to boom. And even if we have ebb and flow and cool off periods, this book is no longer going back to what it was. It is setting new floors for sure, in my humble opinion, that is. All right, folks, we're halfway through the list. Let's move on to book number 5, Amazing Spider-Man 101, First Appearance of Morbius. Okay, I have this book on this list for the simple reason of this. And again, this is just my opinion. I think that the Morbius film is going to be a awesome film. I think it's going to be received very well. And I think that it's really going to set up Morbius to have this long tenure crossed over in the MCU. Because we know now, I mean, the Sonyverse and the MCU are, officially crossed over with all of these Spider-Man related characters. It's tough. I can't tell you to go out and buy this book right now. The market is at a peak for this book. So I'm going to add to that, but let's look at these numbers. A current 9.2 fair market value sitting at $221. All right, 5 years ago, $613. That's a 5-year increase of $425, and we even had a high raw sale for $2,500. Right? Here's the thing. We got the second trailer. People are hyped about it. The movie's coming out in a couple months here. I can't tell you that this book is going to cool off. I can't. You can't predict the future, folks. So if you're in the market for this book, this is what I would do. Obviously, stay within your budget no matter what you do. If you gotta shoot for a 2.0 or a 3.0 to stay within your budget, then that's what you got to do. At least you're going to own the book if you make that decision, right? Be careful. Sit with this one. Don't jump to conclusions and be reactionary in your purchasing decisions. This is one that I think if you miss out on one that you're watching on eBay or Mercari or wherever the case may be, don't beat yourself up. This is one that it just wasn't meant to be, because it might cool off. Once the movie comes off and we're sitting for a couple months, comes out of movie theaters, the book could cool off for a little bit. But like I said, I think in the long run, it's going to start picking back up again. So you just have to be smart. Let's move on to book number 4, and that's Avengers 62. I've been talking about this book a lot over the last year and a half. First appearance of M'Baku, Man-8. Let me look at the numbers and I'll tell you about this book. Current 8.5 CGC fair market value sitting at about $600. 5 years ago, $100. That's a 500% increase. Oh my goodness. High Raw went for $400. So this is a tough one too, because I do believe M'Baku is going to have a bigger role in Black Panther 2. That's my humble opinion. I do have the theory still that M'Baku might temporarily pick up the Black Panther mantle, maybe pass it down and train Shuri and pass down the mantle to her. There's some other speculation going on that I'm not even going to talk about, but it's tough with this one because you're sitting at something right now to where if there's speculation around this book that's pushing the value of this book up because they think that M'Baku is going to take on the mantle, and that doesn't happen, that could drop this book down a decent amount. If he has a bigger role but doesn't take up the mantle, it could still keep this book at a solid price. If he picks up the mantle, the book's going to boom. So what do? Again, you can't predict the future. You just have to be smart with your purchasing decisions. That's all. Still a solid book regardless, and I think long term it's going to stand the test of time, folks. That's for sure. All right, guys, top three here. Let's go into book number 3, Amazing Spider-Man 252, first appearance of the symbiote suit. All right, let's look at these numbers and I'm going to talk about this book. Current 9.8 fair market value, doing big things. $1,841. 5 years ago, $289. That's a 5-year increase of 537%. A high raw sold for $650. Just amazing what this book's been doing, folks. But I don't think it's done. Because here's the thing. And if you haven't seen the Venom film, spoilers here, folks. But, I mean, it's been out for, a couple months now. If you saw the end credit scene, you know that Venom, probably because of whatever's been going on with the either Wanda messing with the multiverse or Spider-Man and Doctor Strange messing with the multiverse, Venom is in the MCU. It's official. And I've been saying this. I've been saying this before there was any announcement. Tom Holland and Tom Hardy are going to meet up. And as soon as that symbiote, in some form or fashion, it might not be exactly how it happened in the comic books, as soon as that symbiote latches on to Peter Parker, my goodness, what this book is going to do, folks. You guys think this book, people are like, there's no reason that this book should be. Guys, supply and demand. This book is going to go crazy if we see that happen. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. All right, everyone. Book number 2 on the list, Silver Surfer Action. Silver Surfer, number 4. This is the first Silver Surfer versus Thor. Obviously, this classic John Buscema cover. And this is the first interior art by one of my all-time favorites, Sal Buscema. So just, look, there could have been a multitude of books pertaining to Silver Surfer that I could have put on this list, but I picked this one because of a couple reasons. Let's look at the number, and I'm going to tell you why. Current 8.0 CGC fair market value, $2,387. 5 years ago, $359. It's a 5-year increase of 565%. Wow. High Raw went for over $1,000 for $1,082. So here's the thing. I could have picked Fantastic Four 48, could have picked 49. I could have picked Silver Surfer number 1. The reason I picked this book, and they're all pretty big books at this point. The reason I picked this one is because I think it is very, very possible that we can see Silver Surfer show up in a Thor movie or in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Thor there or something like that. Because here's my thoughts on this. I think Kevin Feige and team are sitting there saying that we know the Fantastic Four film's coming, right? But we already saw Silver Surfer be introduced in a Fantastic Four movie through the Fox films. To say, I like the portrayal of Silver Surfer. You know, I thought Lawrence Fishburne did a great job doing the voice. But overall, the movies just failed the character. I don't think, in my humble opinion, that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios want to try to carbon copy that and say, well, we're going to do it better because we're Marvel Studios. No, they're going to say, let's do something different. And I think it is a huge possibility that we might see Silver Surfer for the first time, not showing up with the Fantastic Four, but showing up and Thor battling him. So that's why I picked this book on the list. If we do see Silver Surfer show up, all of those books are going to increase, obviously. So, all right, folks, we got one more book on the list today. But before we get into book number 1, I do want to remind you all, if you are in need of comic book supplies, check out bcwsupplies.com and use the code JOURNOS to receive 10% off of your order. Link is below in the description as well. You can use this code as many times as you want. It does not expire. Small orders, large orders. Again, save 10%, and I do stand by BCW products. 90% of the products that I buy and use are BCW. So use the code JOURNOS. Save yourself 10%. All right, but let's get into the book that's number 1 on the list today. And that is Fantastic Four 273. Strange book to maybe have at number 1, but look, folks, I based these books on increase in value. All right, and this book has a 674% increase in value. And no, it's not over 5 years, it's over 1 year's time. So here's the thing. This is the first full appearance of Nathaniel Richards in the origin of Kang Prime. So All Things Kang has driven this book up like crazy madness. Current 9.8 fair market value is at about $387, where a year ago it was sitting at $50. High raw sold for $45. Is this book number one because I want you to go buy this book? Absolutely not. This book is extremely volatile. I will say this. I don't want anybody watching this video right now to go buy this book in a 9.8. I don't want you to pay $250, $300, $350, $387, $400. I don't want, hey, look, if you want to pay it, fine, go ahead. If you're in the market for this book, I would absolutely try to spec out and find a high grade raw and spend money to get it pressed and clean and send into a grading company, okay? This book is very volatile right now because it is, a copper age book that we are seeing exponential increases over a short period of time. We don't know how it's going to hold up in the long term. Will it ever be a dollar book or a back issue $2, $3 book anymore? I don't think so. I think those days are long gone. And we know the implications of what's going on in this book and how most likely we're going to see them play out in the MCU. So this is still a solid book, though, if you can go out and find it for a good deal. If it's still in some back issue bins somewhere, I think if you could find a copy of this book, even in a decently high mid-grade for under $20, I think that's a solid investment still with low risk, but just be very careful with this book. Don't, like I said, I would hate for someone to go out and spend close to $400 for this book, and then, it cools off for whatever reason. So be very careful, take heed. But it's number one for a reason because of what it's doing right now. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely amazing to see what this book has done in just a small period of time. So, hey, look, I mean, we still have West Coast Avengers 45, first appearance of White Vision. It's cooled off a little bit since we've seen, him show up in WandaVision at the end credit scene. But I'm very impressed with the value that it's held. And, I do believe we're going to, obviously we haven't seen the end of White Vision. So that's probably keeping that book up. If White Vision was a one and done, we'd probably heavily see that book decrease. So that's why I don't think this book can crash really hard at some point. I don't. But again, be very, very careful. Lots of things can to come in the near future. So that's the 10 books for today, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Let me know if you had any other books that you thought should have been on this list, or let me know which books that you have or which books you are scoping out. Again, folks, there's going to be a lot of MCU spec books to talk about over the next year. I'm sure I'll have many more videos to come. But before we go, I do want to thank all of my members of my channel, starting off with my Patreon members. Again, thank you so much for the huge support month after month. We will be having an end of year New Year's giveaway for all of my Patreon members. And then, of course, to all of my channel members, I'll probably have a couple of small giveaways for all of you guys. If you're interested in joining via YouTube channel member, it's only $1.99 a month. You can click that join button below to get extra perks as well. So be on the lookout for a couple of contests there specifically for you all. Thank you again so much for the continued support. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully you are subscribed. If you haven't yet, please do so. We are so close to 9,000 subscribers. Thank you again to Otis for sponsoring this video today as well. Be well, everyone, and until next time.